So we will be sharing this DVD. And by the way, any of you who were not here for any or all four sessions, or three others, we thanks to Earl Spell and Lucy, we are taping this, and it is available. It will be available. So just email me or let me know that you want a copy, because if you happen to miss one of them or whatever, all of them are going to be on this DVD, and that'll be a great thing, because I want to share this with prospects and with new members. It's kind of an orientation. This is something I did for years as kind of an orientation session, and now I'm not free during Sunday school. So the wonderful world of technology will allow this to go into people's homes. So good to have everybody here. So tonight's the last night, and I want to talk, I kept saying at the beginning, we talked about origins of Baptists way out here. Next week, doctrine and beliefs of Baptists, as much as you can say that with the variety of Baptists that there are. Last week, we talked about the Southern Baptist controversy, what led to the formation of CBF out of that, how all that relates to our present relationship with the seminary. Tonight, so I really want to bring it all right here close to home and talk about what is unique about Wake Forest Baptist Church. I always tell people this list that I have, I put it on the back of an envelope on a long airplane ride. And it was really a great way to pass the time. It was a great way to think about the uniqueness of this church. And I maybe have tweaked it a little bit through the years, but for the most part, this is what I came up with. Not all of this will necessarily be in chronological order, but to begin, the beginnings, really what is very unique about our church is that it was started by students. You don't hear that very often. Most time it's men, quite frankly, with the earlier years, patriarchal way of things. But in 1835 or probably 1834-ish, the only Baptist church around was Wake Union Baptist Church, which is still in existence, which at that time would seem a long ways away. Now you get there in a couple of minutes by car. But Wake Union Church is right up by the Sutherland. It's up by the what used to be the golf course on Capitol Boulevard, is right up there. So again, remember that it was Wake Forest College that was on this campus now. And of course, it wasn't anything like the campus we have now, but they were having a revival service at Wake Union Church and Wake Union Baptist Church. And out of that revival and out of that prayer, 17 students felt led to come all the way into the village of the Forest of Wake and start a church. So it was started by students. It was started in a revival service. It was started as a result of prayer. I think those are things we should never, ever forget about our church. That revival begins with prayer. And out of prayer, things incredible can happen. And this church began out of that very thing. So they came on in here, and they met in different college campuses. I'm a little intimidated because I got some real historians here and all. But correct me, because you probably do know some of this better than I do. But it was certainly started here. This building, obviously not this new building, but the sanctuary, none of this existed at that time. So the church started in 1835 by college students in prayer and revival. And they met in different locations. And my understanding is that at times there were blacks that may have been slaves or not, but that there were in certain different buildings in different places on campus that they met as an assembly place. And eventually, so fast forward from 1835 to meeting in different places. And remember again, as I said last week, the Southern Baptist Convention didn't start until 1845. This church, its origins are older than the Southern Baptist Convention. They met in different buildings, different constituencies, blacks and whites together. Blacks eventually with emancipation and moving into, really a lot of it was what's now Olive Branch Baptist Church, right up the street here. came out of this church. They just had their 100th anniversary, so that maybe gives you some feel. But if you fast forward to 1915, about 80 years, that's when the sanctuary was built, when it was dedicated. It's a great story about that. Understand that Wake Forest College was the original Baptist college of North Carolina Baptist. This is their one and only college at the start. And so they would be sending a lot of their, Baptists all over the state would be sending their sons and daughters to Wake Forest College. So there was this desire as the church grew through 80 years of moving around different buildings to have their own church building, obviously. What's interesting to me about it is that when they started thinking about building this sanctuary, and imagine, if you will, it would be, imagine trying to build that now. Imagine even more so building it over 100 years ago. What an incredible edifice it was, and what a tribute to God. But what is most fascinating to me is, I'm finally getting to it, I've said it 3 times, is that the financial appeal, just as we had a capital campaign like you do for any building and raise money, they made an appeal to Baptists all over the state of North Carolina. We didn't do that for this building. We certainly didn't do it, wouldn't think of doing it. But the reason was they knew that parents and Baptists all over the state would be sending their young people here. And their young people, a lot of them, would be worshiping in this church. So therefore, let them have a piece of help to build something that their children, young people, will be a part of. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So very unique for that to be happening. So when the sanctuary Wake Forest Baptist Church was built, it was something of a statewide event among Baptists, because this is the Baptist College, one and only. So it was quite a historic thing. The architect was, I can't tell you his name, probably you know his name, but highly regarded, and it's done other churches. The one I'm most familiar with, there are several churches that actually you go to and you'll see a very similar style. That was his style, especially the dome. The First Baptist Church of Edenton, North Carolina, you'll see a lot of similarities, a lot. Dome, and that was kind of stained glass windows, kind of the shape of the sanctuary and all that. So, very famous architect, whose name I can't remember. It's interesting, I can't quote, but how, as you would imagine, how the cost of things compared to the cost today. It's just, somebody did tell me one time it's almost like cost-wise inflation, like building the PNC Arena today. Maybe that's a little grandiose, but it's not too far off. But to raise that kind of money, and the Baptists all over. So we have a huge heritage. It's not just a little local church. It was something that all over the state. So in many ways, North Carolina Baptists helped build Wake Forest Baptist Sanctuary. So let me just maybe stick with the building phases, just so you get an idea of this. I may not get this exactly right, but so you obviously had the sanctuary. And some of you may have seen the pictures along the hallway of before it was renovated. Some of y'all were here, I've seen before. The choir loft was in a terrible place, kind of high up and lifted up, which, I've seen a lot of older churches have that kind of thing, But anyway, they did a beautiful... Yes, right, okay, sure. Unlike the choir now, or whatever, no. But then the education, like the next week, it's kind of really, I tell new people, it seems a little complicated, I can tell when they first come here, but really it's fairly simple arrangement. You got the sanctuary building, then you got the what is now the preschool downstairs and children upstairs wing, and then you got this wing. So it's really, when you really kind of think about it, it's 3 parallel tracks. But so that education wing was built late 50s, okay. Yes. Oh, really? Okay, yeah. We're back where the choir is and all, yeah. And downstairs was the kitchen, and upstairs where the choir area was, some of those rooms were actually the church offices. Am I saying that right? That's what I've always been told. Okay. And then, of course, we built this building 3 years ago. And I would say, mid, I've been here 12 and a half years, so I don't know, 15, 20 years, they bought the office house over there and the acres behind it. So that's kind of the development of the facilities, if you will. I think so, yeah. Yeah, and they're still up there. Yeah. Yeah, if you go up in the balcony, there actually are some tiny little rooms. They're long and narrow. I mean, if you sit across from each other, your knees almost hit. But they're very narrow. But they were meant to be Sunday school rooms, and that's kind of what they did back then. But they're not good Sunday school rooms.
Our class used that until.
Yeah.
And in fact, we missed it. It was nice.
Yeah, well, it was very, very intimate. Couldn't help but be.
Before that, the kitchen was in this wing here, and the area what became the kitchen was used for Sunday school.
Yeah.
Because when I grew up here, I went to Sunday school essentially in the basement there, and then I went to Sunday school in the old alumni building that was across
Right.
the way where
Right.
they tore down the building.
Right. Right.
And so there's always been, until now, I guess
Yeah.
a little bit, always been an issue of
Yeah.
where people would.
Yeah, and for those who are really new here, before this building was built, I mean, this is very much in my time. We were eventually to the point we were meeting in 2 other seminary buildings. We were meeting in the basement of the chapel. We had 3 or 4 classrooms over there. We were meeting over in Appleby. We were meeting behind partitions in what's now the youth area. I mean, we were upstairs in those balcony rooms. I mean, it was chaotic. So that's why this building has been such a blessing, so we really need it. Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. They lived in the house right across where the Tedders now live. Okay, shifting gears. That's just the start, the building phases and all that. And this is in no particular order, but this is a really important one to me. And I think it's a really important thing about our church. So I talk about the resilience that I think is in the DNA of this church. I hear the history of this church, and there's a remarkable resiliency. There's had to be, but it doesn't always happen. There were 3 different opportunities where this church could have definitely almost come close to shutting the doors, but didn't. And the first one, I'm talking about, and I touched on this some in other times, but talking about there have been 3, I don't want to be dramatic, but although it's certainly true of the first 2, I was about to say 3 mass exoduses from this church. And the first 2 we all kind of get was, first one was obviously when the college moved to Winston-Salem, and to change over. So, the college, I've been told, maybe but I've been told that old times, actually, everybody who lived in Wake Forest, the post address was Wake Forest College. Not Wake Forest, North Carolina, but Wake Forest College, North Carolina. Even if you were just a resident, which says to me how much this community was so connected to the college. I mean, the college was the hub of everything. It still is in a major way, a seminary, very much part of it, but it was everything at that point. So there was the mass exodus, and this is back in the 50s. Anyway, you're fine. I'm sorry?
Letters written to my grandmother that said her name, Wake Forest College, North Carolina.
Yeah. So I always think that's very revealing. That the postal address would be the college, even if you lived down the street and had nothing to do with the college. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Right. So the second mass exodus, obviously, was when the seminary changed hands. And as I talked about last week, a huge number of people who were faculty members, administration, students and all, we're no longer a part of this seminary, and so they had to leave and find jobs elsewhere. And it really, that was a tough time in the life of this church to lose that dramatic number of people who were leaders in the church and all this. The third one is the one I don't want to talk about quite as much. And that was, a couple of years, 3 or 4 years before I came here. There was any way you look at it, there was a separation of people who went and started a church up in Youngsville, Grace Haven, and there was some staff conflict. There was some reasons for that. So that was about I came in 2005. It was probably about 2002. 3 or 4 years before I came. Fortunately.
Before that, in the 1960s, there was
Okay.
Group of people.
Right. Yeah. I don't think that was quite the number of people.
No,
Yeah.
it was
Right.
larger than other churches, and that
Right.
was, for lack of a better term, that was race related.
It was. That's all I've ever heard. That's right. But the 3 major departures where they really lost a significant group and could have really, gotten just really down about it. But every time they have bounced back. This church has bounced back, and I think any time in a church and in a person's life, resiliency is an important characteristic. So I really celebrate that. I think that's encouraging that hopefully in the DNA of our church there's a strong resiliency that's been proven. The next one is that uniquely, far before it was very common in any Baptist churches, this church ordained women deacons. They were kind of pioneers in that area, and I certainly appreciate that. So not much more to say about that, except that it was just very, very early. I think back in the 1920s maybe or something. Yeah. Well, it's still controversial in some churches, but that is what, it's not, if they had started doing that in the 1980s or 90s, I wouldn't be talking about it. What was unique was how early on they did it. I mean, it was a lot of Baptist churches ordained women, but not many did it that early on. They were real pioneers in that area. So
Still not ordained women ministers, do you?
they do. We do, yeah. We just ordained Leah Harlow. Joanne Stansel's ordained. Yes.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. We ordain women. And that's, not everybody in Baptist world agrees with that, and I respect that. So, what's that? Oh, I'm sorry. So just moving right along. So ordained women very early on. The next one I talk about, again, very unique to this church. I mean, I know a lot of Baptist churches. What I say is that this church knows what it is to walk among giants. Giants of Baptist life have been through this church. And again, a lot of these things are very much because of the location. College, the seminary. But the first missionary to China was a member of this church. You had numerous presidents of Southeastern Seminary, presidents of Wake Forest College, all until the seminary changed hands. Every president of Wake Forest College and every president of Southeastern Seminary was a member of this church. Okay, so and still to this day we have. You go out and look at that wonderful map, the global map. You see, we've had over 100 missionaries gone all over the world that at one time or another were members of this church. Again, the president of seminary, Randall Lally, for many people is a giant of a person in Baptist history. He was a member of this church. And I think even in our present, even today, to this day, George Braswell, first missionary to Iran, he and Joanne, I mean, they are legendary in the Baptist mission world. And they're sitting in our pews right even as we speak, So because of the location of this church, they've had giants of Baptist life at times sitting right in the pews. I mean, more than any church I could imagine, hardly. So very unique because of this church. Moving right along, because about halfway there, but I want to leave time tonight to anything y'all want to talk about to wrap it up. Yeah, our church is not unique as being the only one, but what I really celebrate is that we do give a lot of emphasis to missions, locally and globally. We could do more. We always wish for more, but let me just tell you, and this is kind of an orientation. Most of what I'm about to say, most of y'all already know. But as far as local missions, yeah, we do. I mean, got Tommy here, who's head of our missions council, but we do, and I'm probably going to forget. We do so many things, and at the end, I'm going to give a handout that actually is a little bit dated now because it's easily probably 6 or 7 years old, but it's a great handout to give you an idea of all the things that we do. But locally, every single week we take hot dogs, and we've done that for at least 11 years at least. We've done we take 125 hot dogs up at Taylor Street Park and just give them away. And just people are ready, they know when we're coming, and builds relationships, builds friendships. We don't try to make it an evangelistic kind of thing. Our evangelism is caring for them and providing for them, and that's being the presence of Christ to them. Every other Wednesday night, we take hot food up for supper up to that same location. Once a month, we do what's called Interfaith Food Shuttle, where we have a ministry where they bring food by truck out of Raleigh, the ministry they have, and our volunteers unload it, and several hundred people come through the line and can fill several grocery bags full of whatever they want from all the different varieties. We have a community garden that by the end of this year will have produced over 20,000 pounds of produce. A lot of that goes to the Bun Soup Kitchen. Some of that goes to the Interfaith Food Shuttle, which just talked about. Some of what is in season goes to where the hot dogs are. We certainly do nursing homes. What else am I leaving out locally? We do disaster relief when that's needed. We have men who are trained volunteers with North Carolina Baptist Men to help with that. And we have a disaster relief trailer, just as we have another trailer to serve these hot meals. And they're parked out behind the office house. What else do we do locally?
We support Tri-Area Ministry.
Support Tri-Area Ministry. Well, yeah, I'm getting that's global. Yeah, I'm still trying to say local. What's that?
ChurchNet.
Yeah, ChurchNet, thank you. ChurchNet was started by this church. It now incorporates how many churches? At least about a dozen, something like about a dozen. Oh, really? Okay. So that was started by this church. The office is right down in the lower parking lot from the church office. And they give out, open up twice a week and give out help with utilities and help people low income with financial needs. Also started so it's a huge ministry that was started by this church and now has spread all over this community, but started by us. Another ministry that was started by Koinonia Sunday School class in this church is now what's called the Koinonia Foundation. And it has over $200,000 in endowment. I'm on the board of it right now. We do, again, benevolence gifts. We do grants. Tommy was chair of that a couple of years ago. Incredible ministry. And really, you don't want to boast. And I had nothing to do with this before my time, so I can brag on it because I had nothing to do about it. But I love that some of these major ministries that are now community-wide known, where did they start? Who started them? Wake Forest Baptist started them. So significant ministries, both of them. I mean, they give out thousands of dollars every year. So, yeah, that's right. So globally, the most significant one, just ongoing, is our what's called Embrace Uganda, which was started by a couple who are no longer in this church, but we have continued. I've been to Uganda. A number of people have been to Uganda. Every year, somebody from our church is going to Uganda. Dorothy Bowman in our church, until just recently, was the chair of the board of directors. They have a major fundraiser every year. I mean, they have built, like I said, I've been over there. They built medical clinics. They have built orphanages. They've dug wells. Have you been over there? No. You haven't been. but you're on the board. Yeah, Mike is on the board. I mean, just it's amazing. And a couple of times a year, you will see if you're in worship, Michael Okokole from Uganda, who is the pastor over there. He'll be here and always be in our church and says a word of greeting and all. And you know, some of us have been around a while. I mean, he's an old friend by now. So, and also Faith Kahura, who runs the orphanage over there, comes a fair amount as well. So it's incredible ministry. And the beauty of it is, I've always said, yeah, to me, the ideal global missions is that you have one ministry that's ongoing. So you can kind of see the development through the years. And then you have another one that's maybe a different country every year, just for the different experiences and all that. And we've sent teams, even since I've been here, to help me out, to Haiti, to Canada. Where else we been? Where have we been? Then we've been to Haiti.
New York.
Well, yeah, and that's a. I'm trying to think. In this country, we go to send the team to New York City every February. They've done that for years, and they do street ministry. So the quilting ministry. It really, in terms of missions, we also have the deaf ministry, which really, is for the deaf congregation. That's a mission of our church that we celebrate. So, again, I'm just trying to say good things about our church. It always could be better, but sometime back, a seminary student, this has been probably close to 10 years ago, but it's been since I've been here, at almost the same time, a PhD student from Southeastern Seminary and also a newspaper reporter from Roseville paper. Both had the same assignment, what church was making the most difference in the community here. And both of them separately, independently of each other and all that, both came up with the conclusion that this church was making more of an impact to local missions than any other church in Wake Forest. I don't know if that's still the case. I hope it is, but that made me feel good to hear that, and while we always could be doing more, at the same time. So, but missions is missions, I talked about probably 2 weeks ago, Baptist beliefs. Missions is in the DNA of true Baptists. That's really what we were founded on, a love for missions. And I think as long as we can keep that, that's one thing you got to ask, a love for Christ and a love for missions. If you get either one of those wrong, everything else to me is suspect. You gotta be doing missions. That's why we exist. To me, one of the foundational questions of a church is, if this church were to close its doors tomorrow, would it make any difference in the community? And if you can't get that answer right, then something you need to look at. And again, we can always do better. But and one other I have here. This church, a couple of years before I came here, started a mission church, which is Heritage Baptist Church. So that's there. We do have a mission church over in the Heritage community. It's struggling a little bit right now, but they have a good pastor, Jimmy Allen, and that is something that this church. That was a group of people who left for good reasons, for reasons that we celebrate. So my next one, just shifting gears completely. This church. I was told this a lot when I came here. I'm not sure it's as true as some people want it to be, and maybe it's more true than others, but there is certainly an inclusive spirit at the heart of this church. And when I'm talking about inclusive, I'm talking about, you name it, we have it. I'm telling you. We have politically everything from here to here. Theologically, we have everything from here to here. I mean, there's a certain, I think, kind of general core who we are, but this church has embraced and been willing to take the risk of being open to all people, and that makes for a challenge some days, even in my time, but it also makes for the healthiest church. We are to be the body of Christ. The body requires all the members, and all the diversity. It doesn't mean we believe that anything goes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about we have an openness to, I think the more we are open to all people, the more they experience the diversity and the wonder of everybody's uniqueness. And hopefully we're all coming closer to one heart, one faith, one baptism, So, but it's a pretty inclusive I don't think it's very exclusive of people, and I hope it never will be. Next thing I have here, and this, let me explain what I'm saying. That I mean, I've been around the block. I'm 62. I've been a pastor all my life. Been in Baptist churches all my life. This church, as much as anybody, certainly any church that I'm aware of, has a sense of who they are. Now, that's changing a little bit, but when I first came here, because of the history of the college and the seminary, I mean, for decades, you had people who were leaders in Baptist world. I mean, they knew what Baptist theology was, they knew what Baptist history was, knew what Baptist principles were. They taught it, they lived it, they were leaders in it. And so in this church, there was a really huge awareness of what it means to be Baptist, probably more than your typical one, because they lived it and they were participants in it. So I will say, I think, and I don't think this is a bad thing or a good thing, I think it's just the way it is, that this church, before I came here, but it's just less and less case. I used to hear it said of this church, it was a town and gown church. Town and gown, the idea of the gown being academic gown. That there was a strong, huge academic presence in the church because of all the reasons I've just talked about. You had all these professors and administrators, college, So it's town, and the town wasn't anything like it is now, obviously. And so there was a huge, much larger percentage, in fact, there's hardly any now, of the gown aspect, the academic presence. And that certainly flavored the church. I think some days, if I had to stand up and preach in front of a preaching professor or a New Testament professor, or or I talk about church history, and they're sitting in the pew, it'd be kind of a little intimidating. Now it's just the opposite. It is very much a town church because the town has exploded in growth, as we all know. Have people coming in from everywhere every single day, so. There's not that strong academic flavor to the church that there was at one time, but nevertheless, because of that, and God, I think if you smell the air, that the history of this church is a uniquely understanding of what Baptist distinctives and Baptist history is all about because of who they were. Now, the next one, I think, is what I hear a lot of people really do love. And this is very as current as every Sunday. And it is increasingly the case that what is unique about Wake Forest Baptist Church is that we celebrate traditional worship. That's why a lot of people come here. I hear that all the time. And amen. Nobody more with it than me. That's why I came here. You got the head of the search committee sitting over here. That it's all his fault. But if I had some hidden agenda or even open agenda to go contemporary, I would not have been hired here, and nor would I have wanted to come here. So this is my history. This is the history of this church, and I think the more we get into modern day times, the more that makes this church unique. And I was now talking to Pastor of Trinity Baptist in Raleigh just the other day. We were both talking about this. I often say we are increasingly the alternative church in town. There aren't many just good old Baptist traditional services of quality around. Our music program, we have the only pipe organ in Wake Forest. Choir sings in robes. We use hymn books. We are traditional. And the beauty of it is I visit people all the time that I say, if you want contemporary, you certainly have a smorgasbord of opportunities, and that's a good thing because traditional is not for everybody. But I'm thankful for those who want traditional, and we've certainly seen that there's at least a market for that, and use secular terms. I'm glad that we offer that option also for those who do want that. So we are very traditional in worship. That's increasingly makes us unique, and amen to it. So glad that we can be unique and And I think traditional worship done well is good. I think contemporary worship done well is good. I just happen to be a traditional worship guy, and that's why I'm in this church, and why probably most of you are in this church. You know, so yeah, if I come up next church conference, say, yeah, we need to put up a couple screens and get some lights going here and turn the volume up a little bit so we can get some people sitting on the edge, and they're going to be outside my door the next morning, and rightly so. So that's not going to happen. But so we are increasingly an alternative kind of experience in this day and time. So one of the things is, I don't know, it makes us a little unique, at least in this community. There are certainly other churches that do this, but I just want to say more as an orientation kind of thing about our second campus. We do have a second campus. I hope you know about that, called the Stevenson campus. Some again in this room are much more lived that than I did, but I inherited it. But the Stevensons were Cecil and Irene Stevenson, larger than life, wonderful, saintly couple. When they died, they left their property, which was about 16 acres. About 12 where we have our main campus now, and about 4 acres on the opposite side of 98, kind of right beside Waffle House. And so we sold the 4 acres because it really wasn't that great a lot. You couldn't do it. We didn't need to do anything on it anyway. That helped us in building for the Stevenson Pavilion and things like that. So since I've been here, we did. Yeah, quite frankly, when I came here, there was a dream of what was called the Stevenson Center, and there was even an architect's drawing, a 44,000 square foot Taj Mahal. And one of the, I always say, I mean, people think I'm joking when I say this. I could not be more serious. One of the 5 best blessings of God that happened in my time here was that we did not sign the contract on that property. Amen. Because it would have strapped us financially, like, I don't know what we were thinking. Anyway, so we backed up a little bit. It did nothing, and there you had this. I mean, I hope you've all seen it. I mean, it really is an incredible piece of property. I can tell you, I've had developers just recently, and not uncommon, to ask me if we would sell it to them for millions. And that's sacred ground. We're not just going to sell it for commercial purposes. But it's a beautiful, valuable piece of land that's, I still believe, God's purpose. But in the meantime, we decided to build this really nice pavilion, which this time of year I can tell you gets used constantly. And then the athletic fields, which one of the great things, we partner with the Carr YMCA, the Pee Wee Soccer League from Carr YMCA uses that in the fall and spring. It gives us a beautiful connecting with, hundreds of people are on that property, their children out there, So the Stevenson campus is something that is already used immensely, but will still somewhere in God's future be used for yet greater purposes. We have no idea what that's going to be, and we don't have to, but that's a prayer. I think we're doing long-range planning. But we do have a second campus. It's directly, again, if you don't know, it's directly across from Waffle House and what's that, Zaxby's. Right. It's just a bunch of tree, but if you go up the next street and come back, go out and look at it. I mean, truly, if you've never seen it, I mean, it's a real incredible gift that the Stevensons left us. And it was interesting, the process that finally got to us. But it is, yes. Yes, Wake Union Church. If you kind of go out west past Zaxby's, take the immediate first right turn right there and just kind of come back, and you can't miss it. I mean, it's a big open field, soccer fields, and 12 acres. So it's beautiful. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah. Yeah, this is yeah. So I'm not going to talk about this hardly at all, but what is unique, it certainly has to make the list, is our relationship with Southeastern Seminary. I mean, and that's just, I talked about all that last week, so I'm not going to labor over that. But everywhere I go in other areas, the first question I get asked, how do you get along with Southeastern Seminary? Because we are primarily, not exclusively, but primarily a CBF church, and they are SBC, and because of all the history that I talked about last week, and some of you read the article, I mean, it made the news that we are getting along with each other. And what's unique about it is that a lot of CBF and SBC people don't get along. Don't take the trouble to get beyond the labels and truly get to know one another as brothers and sisters in Christ. So it's so unique and wonderful that this church has built bridges to Southeastern Seminary and not stayed in their little camp, so to speak, which I have no use for. But that doesn't just happen everywhere. So what is unique, kind of the last thing, I don't know what's going to be the next unique thing. I just want to put in a little plug. Of May the 19th, we are having our long-range planning. You've heard a lot of unique things about this church. Some of these things, your typical person been around in the pew for a while didn't even know. What's unique still to come is God's continued plan for this church. That we are now in that time in God's history in this church. It's our time to establish something unique. Having said all that, this is not what's unique, although maybe my wife would say you really are unique. I use this as, and some of you, of course, know me for years, very close, and others are brand new and all in between. I just always use this as an opportunity to kind of tie it up and say a quick little, very uninteresting introduction about me and my family. So just because I'm still, anyway, nothing special, but just, so but I came here 12 and a half years ago. Doug was chair of my search committee and talked me into it. So, and the best thing I ever did. I mean, it's just I preached my trial sermon here the week of my 50th birthday, and really wasn't looking to move. I always remember, I can still remember where my phone was, and I still remember I was forewarned that I would probably be getting a phone call. And I told Doug, I said, I'm really not looking to move, but I'm interested in hearing your story. So and we went from there, and it's been good for me. I can't say for y'all, but I can say for me. I'm a native of Virginia. Went to University of Richmond, then went to Southern Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky, got my MDiv, and then graduated in 1980 and went straight to really a wonderful church, a church that it was kind of typical, always kind of the second stepping stone for everybody, but I was the only one they'd ever hired right out of seminary, and I was single on top of that. It was quite unusual for them to call me, and it was quite a better church than I was expecting to get right out of seminary. And I was there for 10 years. It was up near in Chesapeake Bay. And that's where I met my wife, Kathy, who moved there as a new schools teacher. She was the best prospect visit I ever made. We married 11 months later. So been married 30 some years. I don't know. We got married in 85, whatever that is. So 33 years this summer. Yeah, right. So we have, and Kathy teaches special ed. She has a real passion. She has a brother who's mentally handicapped, and she teaches every day from 9 to 4 without any break at all for lunch or planning or anything. Teaches 8 autistic boys every day. It's a real tough life, but she has a passion for it, and she's really good at it. Really a wonderful person. So we have 2 daughters that are, one is just turned 30. Oh my gosh. Anyway, and we have best of all, a granddaughter who will be 4 in August. So they live in Marion, Virginia, which is where our second church was. Kelly graduated from Appalachian State and moved back up there, even though she was only there as a child, but she still had good memories of it and married a local boy up there. So, and our younger daughter Paige lives in North Raleigh and has been a long, even though she's only 26, she's been working either part-time or full-time now for 10 years at Hazen Tree. She's head of marketing and communications up at the golf club up there, you know, so has a great job. And we see her when we keep her dogs or she keeps our dogs. Seems like that's the only time we see each other. And then I got my doctor of ministry degree from Southeastern in 1988. You know, so and I've done some studies at Oxford in England. I just this year got certified after a 2-year program in Colorado to provide spiritual direction. I've studied a number of places, different times. You know, so I'm a slow learner. The other thing I like to tell people, and again, this is only so I'm doing a little bit of this because this is going to be on tape, and this is going to be going to a lot of prospects and new people who don't know me as well as some of you do. I always like to say, yeah, I do have a hearing loss. I mean, that's probably no news to anybody. You see my cochlear implants when I came here already long ago, although in my late 20s is when I started losing my hearing. And it got to the point where it required, you know, cochlear implant when the hearing aids didn't do enough. Very thankful for people a lot wiser. I am very thankful for technology. I have both of these done since I've been here, actually, about my first or second year here. And I can hear for the best part. I mean, I miss some things, obviously, but I just like to say that. I don't like people being uncomfortable with me, and I don't like people, I appreciate their sensitivity when they come over and say, and this is the way it is. You know, it's like, I want to take them out, you know. So, I mean, there are advantages. I can take these out at night. I don't, you know, I mean, the way it is, you have surgery, you lose all your hearing. So if you don't know, I mean, if I take these out right now, this chair hears the same thing I hear. So I'm completely dependent on these, you know, so which is fine, you know. Very thankful. Actually, they're better than hearing aids. I mean, I hear a lot better than I do at hearing aids. But I like to say that because I'm comfortable with it, so you be comfortable with it. It's just, you know, we all have something. And that's kind of the way I look at it, you know. So, and so that's the story. Very unique church. We are a very blessed church. I mean, I could talk. You know, it's unique that we don't have conflict right now. I mean, so many churches do. You know, it's unique that we are growing, which is unique, unfortunately, in church life these days. Just so many wonderful things, you know. So, but I want to stop there. We've got about 15 minutes. And so the floor is open for anything. That's always a dangerous statement, but anything of these 4 weeks, or just anything at all you want to ask about the church, or anything, beliefs, history, what's unique, or just anything. And if not, we'll go home early. But this is your time, because I'm sure I haven't covered everything. So, can we put it on the website? Okay, yes, we can put it on the website. I mean, I was, you know, we're going to have a DVD that'll have all 4 sessions on a DVD and make a lot of copies that I've planned to, in the future, as I'm visiting people and orientation time, or we have guest lunches and things like that, we just hand them out, you know. But yeah, we could be good to have it on the website as well.
Yeah, I'm very new, so
Yeah, I know.
Coming here,
Right.
I spent a lot of time looking at the website, and it's a
Yeah.
great website.
Yeah.
I think that would be
Yeah.
a wonderful addition.
I agree. Well, and that's why I mean, you know, definitely, I've never done this. I mean, and you know, we're trying to look at a lot of course, you know, Earl back there is, you know, there's a lot of things that wouldn't happen except for Earl. I mean, all of it, you can see, a lot of people still don't realize you can watch all of our worship services, not live. We hope that day will come, but within a couple of days, like yesterday, was Sunday's already on the website probably? So, I mean, just within a couple of
I've looked a little bit, I probably just didn't check it out.
I think it's resources, and then you go down to sermons. Yeah, and then pull it up, and it's right there. Yeah. All right, thank you all. And I could hang around if somebody wants to ask, but I don't want to hold everybody up. So, thank you.